They began descending normally until the runway numbers did not match any airport in the world. Flight 732 was about to land somewhere that should not exist. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me, and please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Captain Marcus Reed had been flying commercial jets for 17 years. He had landed in fog, in storms, in crosswinds that made his co-pilots turn pale, but he had never seen anything like this. The descent into what should have been Chicago O'Hare International Airport started exactly as it always did. The autopilot was engaged, the weather was clear. The passengers behind him were already packing their bags, ready to deplane. Marcus glanced at his instruments, then out the windshield at the approaching runway. That is when his blood ran cold. The numbers painted on the runway were wrong. Every airport runway in the world has numbers. These numbers tell pilots which direction they are landing. Runway 27 means you are heading 270 degrees, basically west. Runway 09 means east. It is a simple system that every pilot knows by heart. Marcus had landed at O'Hare hundreds of times. He knew the runways, he knew the numbers, but the numbers below him read 44. There is no such thing as runway 44. Runway numbers only go up to 36 because there are only 360 degrees in a circle. 44 does not exist. It cannot exist. Marcus blinked hard, thinking maybe his eyes were playing tricks on him. He leaned forward in his seat, squinting through the cockpit glass. The numbers were still there, 44, painted in massive white letters on black asphalt. His co-pilot, a younger man named Derek, had not noticed yet. Derek was busy going through the landing checklist, calling out items in his usual calm voice. Flaps set, gear down, speed on target. Everything was normal, everything except the runway. Marcus reached over and tapped Derek on the shoulder. "Look at the runway," Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady. Derek glanced up. His eyes widened. "What the hell is that?" Derek whispered. Marcus did not answer. He was already scanning the horizon, looking for landmarks, for anything that would tell him where they actually were. The skyline was wrong. Chicago has a distinctive skyline: the Willis Tower, the John Hancock Center, the lakefront stretching out to the east. But below them there were no skyscrapers, no lake, just flat land and a single runway in the middle of nowhere. Marcus grabbed the radio. "O'Hare Tower, this is Flight 732, we have a problem." There was no response, just static. He tried again. "O'Hare Tower, do you copy?" Still nothing. Derek was frantically checking the navigation systems. "The GPS says we are exactly where we are supposed to be," Derek said, his voice rising. "But we are not," Marcus replied. "Look outside, that is not O'Hare." The altimeter showed they were at 3,000 feet and descending. The autopilot was still engaged, guiding them toward that impossible runway. Marcus reached for the controls. "I am taking over," he said. He disengaged the autopilot and pulled back on the yoke, initiating a climb. The plane responded immediately, nose tilting upward. But then something happened that made no sense. The altimeter did not change. They were climbing. Marcus could feel the G-forces. He could see the ground getting farther away through the windshield. But according to the instruments, they were still at 3,000 feet, still descending. Behind them, the cabin was still quiet. The passengers had no idea anything was wrong. The flight attendants were in their seats, prepared for landing. Marcus felt sweat trickling down his back. He pushed the throttles forward, giving the engines more power. The plane climbed steeper. The altimeter still read 3,000 feet. Derek was staring at the instruments like they had betrayed him. "This is impossible," Derek said. "Nothing is working right." "Try the radio again," Marcus ordered. Derek switched frequencies, trying to reach anyone. "Mayday, mayday, this is Flight 732. We are experiencing navigation failure. Can anyone hear us?" Silence. Not even static this time, just dead air. Marcus looked out the window again. The runway was still below them, but now he noticed something else. There were no buildings around it, no hangars, no terminals, no fuel trucks, just the runway sitting alone in an empty field, and the numbers 44 mocking him. He made a decision. "We are not landing there," Marcus said firmly. "We are going to climb to safe altitude and figure out where we really are." He pulled the yoke back further, pushing the plane into a steep climb. The engines roared. The speed decreased as they gained altitude, and then the instruments went completely dark. Every screen in the cockpit went black. The engine noise disappeared, not faded, not sputtered, just vanished into complete silence. The plane was still flying. Marcus could feel it, but according to everything in the cockpit, they were dead in the air. Derek was breathing fast, almost hyperventilating. "What is happening? What is happening?" "Stay calm," Marcus said, though his own heart was hammering. He had trained for electrical failures, for engine failures, for every emergency scenario the airline could think of, but not this, never this. He tried the backup systems, nothing. He tried the mechanical instruments, the old-fashioned gauges that did not need electricity. They were frozen, needles stuck in place. It was as if the plane had been cut off from reality itself. Then the cabin lights went out. Marcus heard a few gasps from the passengers, but no screams, not yet. The emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in a dim red glow. Through the cockpit door window, Marcus could see a flight attendant standing up, trying to reassure people. He admired her composure. We need to land, Derek said. We have no instruments, we have no radio, we need to get on the ground. Where? Marcus shot back. That runway, the one that should not exist. We do not have a choice, Derek said. Look, he pointed down. The runway was directly below them again. Somehow, despite climbing, despite turning, they were right back where they started. Above runway 44, Marcus felt a chill run through him. He had not circled back, he had flown straight, he was sure of it. But there it was, perfectly positioned beneath them like it had been waiting. The plane shuddered, not violently, just a gentle vibration like they had hit a pocket of turbulence. But the air outside was perfectly still. Marcus could see that. No clouds, no wind, nothing, just clear sky and that impossible runway. He made a choice. If we are going to land, we do it on my terms, Marcus said. Manual approach, no autopilot, no instruments, just visual. Derek nodded. He looked terrified, but he nodded. Marcus took a deep breath and began the descent. He had done this before in training, landing without instruments, using only what he could see and feel, but never like this, never toward a runway that violated every rule of aviation. The ground came up slowly. Marcus kept his eyes locked on the runway, using it to judge his altitude, his speed, his angle. He could not hear the engines, but he could feel the plane responding to his controls. That had to be enough. 50 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet. The runway numbers grew larger. 4-4, up close they looked strange. The paint was too white, too perfect, like it had just been applied. But the asphalt around it looked ancient, cracked, and weathered. 20 feet. Marcus pulled back slightly on the yoke, flaring the nose up for touchdown. 10 feet, 5 feet. The wheels touched asphalt. It was the smoothest landing Marcus had ever made. The plane rolled forward, slowing naturally even though he could not hear the brakes or the engines. They coasted to a stop in the middle of the runway. For a moment nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then the cabin lights came back on. The instruments flickered to life. The radio crackled with a voice. Flight 732, this is O'Hare Tower. You are cleared to taxi to gate B12. Welcome to Chicago. Marcus stared at the radio. He looked at Derek. Derek was staring back, his face pale. Marcus keyed the microphone. O'Hare Tower, can you confirm our location? There was a pause. Flight 732, you are at O'Hare International Airport, runway 27 right. Runway 27 right, not 44. Marcus looked out the windshield. The numbers on the runway beneath them now read 27, not 44, 27. The skyline of Chicago was visible in the distance. The lake stretched out to the east. Everything was exactly as it should be, like nothing had happened. Derek unbuckled his seatbelt with shaking hands. Did that just happen? Marcus did not answer. He was staring at the runway numbers. 27, he was sure, absolutely sure, that moments ago they had been 44, but now there was no trace of it, no evidence, just a normal runway at a normal airport. The passengers began deplaning, laughing and chatting, completely unaware. The flight attendants smiled and thanked them for flying. Derek and Marcus sat in the cockpit, unable to move. A ground crew member knocked on the cockpit door. Everything okay up here, Captain? Marcus forced himself to nod. Yes, everything is fine, but it was not fine. As they finally left the plane and walked through the terminal, Marcus could not shake the feeling that something had changed, something fundamental. He checked his watch, the time was correct. He checked his phone, the date was correct. Everything seemed normal, but he knew what he had seen. Runway 44, an impossible runway, a place that should not exist. That night Marcus sat in his hotel room, unable to sleep. He searched online for any reports of strange runways, of navigation failures, of pilots experiencing what he had experienced. He found nothing. The next morning he filed a report with the airline. They listened politely. They checked the plane's black box. According to the data, nothing unusual had happened. A completely normal flight, a completely normal landing on runway 27 right at O'Hare. Marcus insisted on what he saw. Derek backed him up, but there was no evidence, no proof, just two pilots telling an impossible story. The airline suggested they take a few days off, rest, recover from the stress of the job. They meant well, but Marcus knew they did not believe him. Weeks passed, Marcus kept flying, but he never forgot. Every time he approached a runway, he checked the numbers twice, 3 times, waiting for them to change, waiting to see 44 again. He never did. But sometimes, late at night when he was alone in a cockpit, he would wonder if he had passed through something, a door that should not have been open, a place between where he was and where he was supposed to be. And he wondered if somewhere on a runway that does not exist on any map, the numbers 44 are still painted on the asphalt, waiting for the next plane, waiting for the next pilot to see what should not be seen, because some places are not meant to be found, some runways lead nowhere, and some landings change everything even if the world pretends they never happened. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.